Good morning, good morning, good morning, America. Happy Monday. This is Keon Corniff, also known as Mr. Finance. How are you guys doing today? As you can see, today we're going to talk a little bit about taxes. We're going to talk about debt. We're going to talk about this tax cut that they're trying to put in place. We're going to talk about a lot of things today, right? And these things is very important when it comes down to building your financial foundation, right? And like I always mention, simple information is not being given to the public. And it's our responsibility to deliver that information to the public in a manner where everybody can understand it, right? Because it's very important for you to understand the fundamentals it takes for you to build your own financial foundation. So remember to always subscribe, remember to hit like, share, and also give me a call if you ever want to talk more about it. All right, so let's get right into it. Right, we hear this tax cut that our president is trying to implement right now, and here's some things I want you to do before that. I want you to go to a website. It's called usnationaldebt.com, right? usnationaldebt.org. Sorry, it's .org, right? Go there and you will see that our national debt have rose from 19 trillion, now it's in the 20s, right? And here's something, I'm going to go right into it. Here's a little thing that's going on right now with us as American people, right? It says here, the US, this was a survey that was conducted, right? It says 33% or more than 77 million Americans don't pay their bills on time, right? Also, 39% carry credit card debt from month to month. Only 59% of adults say they have savings. You know, it's ironic that we live in one of the wealthiest countries in the world, but yet still people have money problem. A lot of people work hard for many years and they're still gonna retire poor. Many of us don't wait to become a statistics to know that we're in trouble, right? Why is it that debt become the way of life in America? We live in a country that is built upon debt. Debt. Imagine. Think about credit, right? For you to acquire positive credit, you must put yourself in a position where you spend. And in most cases, I like to call it put yourself in debt to then pay off the debt, and then you get credited for the debt. I never understand that theory. Anyway, so these are things that we got to look at. And I'm going straight into it, right? Because I know that's what you guys come on and you guys want to know. Straight to the point. So what is the point that I'm trying to prove today? Now, here it says right here. In 2008, matter of fact, let's go before that. There's a turbulence that's marked the new millennium, right? And it says, as the hours have continued down the year 2000, the fear of the Y2K computer bug threatened to wreck the world order in cyber chaos. By the mid-March of that year, the dot-com bubble burst, sending the stock market down into a free fall. Everybody knows that as the dot-com bubble. That was in 2000, 2001, when the market recorrected itself, right? 1 year later, September 11, tragedy ushered in the new reality of the uncertainty and insecurity. Also, then 2008, the world experienced another financial crisis. The U.S. economic dragged under the Great Recession. The first decade of the new millennium was lost decade for many families. They suffered huge losses in house values, saving retirement accounts, and worst of all, their employment. A massive number of people went into bankruptcy and foreclosure. Millions gave up hope for looking for work. While these turbulent times may have been more pronounced in the US than in Canada, the average Canadians were not immune to the impact of declined market and loss in certain future. Although the US economy is always recovering the aftermath, right? We're now recovering. And you know what? We're still in recovery phase. Now, here's the thing. Today there are 76 million baby boomers, People who were born between the age of the year of 1946 to 1964, every day 10,000 of them turned 65. Many of them were hit hard by the financial crisis. Many more struggled to survive because they did not prepare for retirement. So when 2001 and 2008 happened, many people that are suffering right now are the baby boomers. Right? The baby boomers are suffering from this. And then the baby boomers had kids, which is called Generation X. Generation X were people that was born between 1965 to 1980. Are middle-aged adults. They are worried about keeping their job and paying growing bills. Many of them are sandwiched between the burden of taking care of their own family and helping their parents. That's why a lot of things that's happening right now in middle class, they're suffering. Right? Middle class needs the most help and nobody's helping middle class. Lower class can afford to get help by the government. Middle class get help by nobody because they make too much to get help from the government, and they're not rich enough to survive like the 1%ers in the upper, higher classes, right? That's a major problem. So it says here, let's talk about the generation that I'm a part of. Millennials, right? Those who were born after 1980 are facing bigger hurdles with new economy, right? Now, as the labor market becomes global, companies are increasingly sending their operations overseas where labor costs are lower. In addition, more jobs are being replaced due to the advance in software and automation. Technologies and smart machines change the fast that workers' skills. So these things are changing rapidly, guys. Due to the fact that machines, if you go into the airport, you notice that you don't go into a teller or the person that book you in for your flight. You go check in at a kiosk. How about the restaurants, right? If you go to McDonald's, you can now do your self-order. You know, all these things are changing rapidly. And until we understand that machines are taking our jobs, and even going to the supermarket, you won't need a cashier anymore, right? You just need to go self-checkout. And these things is hurting our country, and it's hurting because it's replacing people's job. So the new awakening is happening, guys, because after World War II, the second half of the last millennium presents a comfortable way of life, right? After the new millennium, and this was after the World War II, there was a new way of comfortable living. And here's what they said. Most people grew up thinking if they just go to good school, which is college, get a degree, and find a good job, and then when they retire, the union, the company, and the government will take care of them. Saving was not a priority. So many people didn't believe in saving. They believe in spending their money, enjoying it while they can, and then you would have Social Security and these things, right? Now it says here, towards the 1980s and the 90s, money become more accessible through easier loans and credit cards. Spending now and pay later was a mantra, right? We grew up in that. You remember how people always said the 90s was the good era? That's because why? We grew up in that era where spending money, it wasn't all about saving, right? Credit card was the new thing. So consumer debt soared. Living with debt become the new norm. From college until old age, many people went through a life of debt, beginning with student loans and on credit cards and car loans and mortgages and etc. Right? Many people believe that this was the way of life. Debt became the way of life, right? They introduced this new type of living. So perhaps the only good thing that came out of that last financial crisis is that more and more people are starting to pay attention to their personal finances, and they want to understand how money works and rebuild their financial foundation. That's the thing that is going on right now. We have a revolution that's taking place within our money, and people want to learn more. Everybody want to learn more at this point. Nobody really trusting anybody really more, and they want to understand, right? Because why? We lived in an era where people just go along with whatever someone else said. But here I am. I'm telling you, don't even just listen to what I'm saying on this beautiful video. What I'm trying to tell you is that you need to be in the you know, a lot of people like to Google things. They like to research things. And they like to look up on the internet things. But they never look up on ways how to learn more about money. And it's one of the most lacked thing and one of the most overlooked and undermined when it comes down to learning more about finance. That's one of the things that I teach. I teach people how to understand money, and I don't cost them a penny. I provide free financial workshops, and I give them a book called Saving Your Future that gives you all the information that you need. Not all, but most of what you need. Enough to intrigue you to then go on and seek more information. Because what we're missing today is understanding. Understanding about how money works. Understanding about taxes. Understanding about where to put my money. And I think that's one of the most important things that we have to look into. How can I put my money to make my money work for me? How can I make things better for me, myself, and my kids and their kids, right? 4 generations. So what I'm going to talk about is self-security, right? And then we're going to get into the tax thing. But we got to make you understand what's going on here. Now, self-security. There was a traditional pillar, right? And the traditional pillar of retirement, a lot of people doubted them now. And those pillars was what? Companies' pensions, personal savings, and Social Security, right? But a lot of things that's happened. A lot of companies dramatically came back off of pensions and then now replaced them with what's called 401k. Social Security now in doubt for many reasons. Because here's what it says here. 38 million Americans are now currently living paycheck to paycheck, right? That's the hard facts right now. Companies' pensions. The good old days of pensions are now disappearing in North America, in the US. Companies now offer 401ks and few of them match and contribution. That's what's going on, right? They took away the pension plan. And now they're replacing them with 401k. I'm going to touch on that a little bit too. What does that really mean for you, right? Because that's very important for you to know. So government programs, Social Security. In 1940s, for every retiree, there was over 40 Americans that was working and contributing to the Social Security. Due to the fact that the lack of job is available today, that number have shrunk dramatically, right? It's now roughly about 3 person per retiree. So there's 3 person working to everyone that's retiring. And that's not enough funding into Social Security to uphold Social Security, right? So this balance will put an increasing pressure on the government's ability to sustain Social Security and provide benefits to seniors who are living longer and require more support. That's another problem that's going on. Due to the old days, the average life expectancy for a man was about 55 and a woman about 65. In today's day, it's actually changed. Men are living up to 85 today, and women are living surpass 100. So now when you look at that, people are living way longer, require more programs, and then you have people not working enough to contribute to that program to make it very useful as it is. If you go to their website, they'll let you know that your Social Security should not be the only source of income. They encourage you not to let that be. So why would they tell you that? All right? Here's another thing. It says here, more than ever, people need to change their thinking of Social Security to self-security. You must fund your own retirement. You can't depend on unions, your employer, or the government. You must take charge of your financial future and develop a new financial habit. If you fail to do this, you will know what's going to happen to you when you need to retire. I always say retirement is not an age, you know. That's something that they fooled you, right? They fooled you to make you think that retirement is an age. Here's what they came up with a figure and how they came up with this. They came up with the fact that you're going to work from the average person start working at the age of 25 years old. Most people retire at the age of 65 or try to. That gives you 40 years to save or 40 years for a company to contribute to that. Now, the thing where they failed to understand that, they did not calculate what would be the market fluctuations, what would be whatever criteria that come with that, what would be the taxes, and then most of these vehicles are what they call tax later, which is also known as tax deferred, which I will also cover in the later on in this video. So you got to keep watching, right? So the thing is this. If we don't take action today and take responsibility, we will fall in the trap where we'll fall for the 40-40 plan, right? Where you work for 40 years, right? Or better yet, you work 40 hours a week. You did that for 40 years. And then you end up with $40,000 in retirement. And then they tell you that you have Social Security and all these different things to survive off. You let me know what 40 grand could do for you and your family. That's if you can get lucky, right? And then even that, even said, let's say you get more than 40,000. What is 40? What's it worth if you're gonna get taxed later on? Plus, every time you get money from this, it's taxed as ordinary income. Woo. Yeah, you tell me if that's the American dream. Now, let's go over here. We're gonna talk about some little habits that we gotta create. You gotta create a habit where you pay yourself first, right? You gotta pay yourself first. And if you don't pay yourself first, you're gonna have a problem. Because here's the thing. If you pay yourself first, 5 to 10%, you need to put away at least 5 to 10% in order to keep up what's called the silent killer, which I'll cover next. If you don't pay yourself like this, you're gonna be in trouble. What if you could save $10 a day? Did you know if you could save $10 a day and get an 8% rate of return on that money, in 30 years you'll have over $447,000 plus dollars? What if you could just save $20 a day? You would have double that. Actually, $894 plus $1,000. That's the thing that I never tell you. But here's the thing. Even if you did find a vehicle to give you that, where is it going to be taxed? Right? Taxes. But let's cover a little bit what is the silent killer. What we need to worry about. Well, the silent killer. It's called inflation. Right? And this is what people are not talking about. That's why I mentioned again, I need you to go to the website usnationaldebt.org. Okay? You will see what our national debt is. And it's because of this. And let's talk about it. What is inflation? No one ever breaks down what is inflation. I'm going to do that right now. So now, inflation is the silent killer. Literally. This thing is taking your money. Now let's break it down. Inflation is the rise in prices of goods and services over time, right? It also says here, when the price increases, your purchasing power decreases. For example, if inflation rate was at 3.5%, your $100 today will be only worth $96.50 next year, right? Because that's what happened. Inflation takes away the value from everybody. So everybody loses a little bit of value, right? And it says here, some refer to inflation as the hidden tax, right? The hidden tax that's going to happen. Now, inflation is a major factor that you got to consider when you're building your financial foundation. Because imagine if you put your money where you're getting less than 1%. Less than 1% of your money. How can you keep up with inflation? Because it says here, in 100 years, from 1914 to 2014, the inflation rate is average at 3.32%. That's where the average is today. So that means 85% of people I know right now put their money in a bank. What is the interest rate that your bank gives you on your money? And where's that land when it comes down to being taxed? So the interest rate, if you ever want to know what the bank gives you on your interest rate, please go to bankrate.com. Bankrate.com, and you can find the interest that you get on your money there. Now, why do I tell you this? It's because then you could then use this tool called the Rule of 72. The Rule of 72 was created by Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein said, if you take 72 and you divide it by whatever interest you get on your money, that will equal the amount of years it takes for your money to double. Now, what does that mean? Let's just say that you got 1% in your bank account. 1% on every money that you saved in the bank account. Now, it says that if you take 72, you divide it by that 1. 1 going to 72 times. So that equal is the amount of years it takes for your money to double. So that means it would take 72 years, which is the equal, for your $100 to become $200 if you was to put it in the bank. That gives you 1%. Now, what if they give you less than 1%? How many years it would take for your money to double? That's something that you got to really consider and really understand. Now, here's another thing that falls in that category. Now that money is also considered what's called taxable. Meaning that you have to pay taxes that very year on that money within your checking, your savings, CDs, stocks, mutual funds. and money market accounts, right? You got to pay the dividends on these accounts. So every time that money makes money, you got to pay taxes on it. You let me know if that's even fair. Do you want to stay paying taxes? All right? Yeah. That's what's going on right now. So here's the thing. Let's talk about the taxes now. Right? What's going on with the issue with taxes? Now, Benjamin Franklin said something that was so powerful. He said, nothing is certain in this world except for death and taxes. Right? You make money, they tax you. You spend money, they tax you. You save money, they tax you. And when you die, they still tax you. Isn't that powerful? Wouldn't you like to learn the fundamentals of how to legally not do that anymore? What if I told you that many wealthy people have figured out this code for many years? Because I always like to ask the question, who wrote our tax system? Was it rich people or was it broke people? I don't know about you, but if I was worth trillions of dollars and I had the opportunity to write the tax laws and help put together something, hey, I would make sure that my trillions of dollars are going to be good. I'm just saying. So why you think you don't know about the rules? Because you don't have enough money. You don't have enough money for someone to even care to tell you the rules. Who are you? You don't even have $250,000 liquid to hear this information that I'm going to tell you. But you know what? I don't care. I don't care what you make. I don't care what you have. I'm going to give it to you anyway. Because I think everybody should have a choice. Now, let's talk about the choices, right? But before I get into that, let's talk about some things here. From sales tax, the income tax, the property tax, the estate tax, and every other tax, anywhere you turn, the tax collector awaits. Did you know that? You can't avoid them. You just got to know how to beat them, right? There's rules. There's rules to this game. That's why I'm a financial coach. I teach people the rules. I teach people how their money could win the game. It's a game, guys. And you're either on the winning side or the losing side. My thing is, if you want to be on the winning side, let me know. I'm a good coach. Many people have told me that. Many people have made money. I protect a lot of people's money. And if your money's losing the game, I can help you. All right? So, one bit of good news. In the highest current U.S. federal income tax rate is currently low compared to the past. It was over 90% during President Kennedy time and 70% at the beginning of the Reagan era. Today, the top tax bracket is lower. But if you add state income tax, the total may be higher. For current tax rates, please visit www.irs.gov. Okay? If you want to know what the current tax rate is in your state or what it is right now in the country, please go to go to www.irs.gov. Okay? It's very important that you do this. Now, let's talk about the history of income tax rate from 1913 to 2015, okay? So now, I'm going to talk about the years. We're going to talk about the tax rates, brackets, and then we're going to talk about why they exist, right? So in 1913, the U.S. tax rate was 7%, right? And it's because it was the first permanent income tax, right? 1913, it was the first permanent income tax. First ever, if you didn't know that. Now, 1917, it was 67. That was World War I financing, right? Then 1932, it was 63%, the Depression era. That's when we went through the first Depression. Then in 1941, it was 81%, World War II. And then in 1944, it was 94%. That was called the Individual Income Tax Act of 1944. Holy moly. 94%? Then 1964, it was 77%. Tax reduction during the Vietnam War. Then 1981, it was 70%. Reagan era tax cuts. Then in 1988, it was 28%. Reagan era tax cuts. Then on top of this, 1991, it was 31%. It was called the Anubis Budget Reconciliation Act of 1990. And then from 2003, 35%, the Bush tax cut. And then we had the great one where it is today. And it's also, right now we're at present at 39.6%. The American Taxpayer Relief Act of 2012. So now our current president wants to talk about, and he said that, hey, we want to lower our taxes to 25%. Now, as a business owner, I'm a 1099, right? As a 1099, let me guys give you just an update of some of the great perks about being a 1099. 1099, we have a lot of tax write-off, a lot of tax deductions that a W-2 do not have, right? Employees don't get a lot of favoritism when it comes down to write-offs. A 1099, I could write off many things. I could write off the mileage on my car, the gas I use, the food I ate, the clothes I buy, the materials that I use for business. Even this little space that I'm using right here in my place right now, I could write that off on my taxes because it's considered a space of where I do business. There's many things I get a lot of tax write-off for, right? And that's just to name a few. You guys that have a job with a W-2 don't get these perks. We're called, when we file, we have something called Schedule C, right? We file a Schedule C and we get a lot of these perks that we write off, and we get a lot of credit, right, towards the income that we earn, so that way it offsets what it is. And there's a lot of ways, a lot of loopholes that you could go around many things when it comes down to these perks and laws, when it comes down to these things, because like I said, it was designed, right? You gotta remember, this country was brought up on entrepreneurship. It wasn't brought up on corporations. Corporations were created by entrepreneurs to then give regular folks like you a job and don't push you to become an entrepreneur. But if you notice, if you get past that type of thinking of being an employee and going to entrepreneurship, you realize that you make a lot more money, and you have control over your time, right? And I think that's the most valuable commodity that anybody could have, is control over time. But let's get back into this taxes. Now here, a tax issue. Taxes take a big chunk of your money. Any savings and investment strategies must consider a tax impact on it. What is your current tax rate? What will the tax rate will be in the future? Will taxes rise or fall? Let's look at the challenges ahead of us, right? Now, the challenges that we're looking at is the fact that people want to lower the taxes to 25%. Now, here's the two things I want you to consider, great American people. We are proud Americans. You must look at our national debt. I just mentioned to you it's over $19 trillion and growing every day, every second, every minute. I kid you not. It's ridiculous. You should look at it. So, when you look at these things and you think about it, if our current tax rate is at 39.6% and we can't keep up with our country's national debt, how is that gonna help if we lower it? See, I'm all for tax advantages. I should be screaming through the roof and jumping for joy for this great deal, but I'm thinking about my kids and their kids and their kids' kids. And if we don't take action to help the future generation that will come and not think about our own personal pockets, we're screwed. The only person that this will benefit is people that myself, that have that have our own businesses. That's the only person that's going to benefit. It's going to keep making us richer and richer and richer. And it should be a good thing that I should be screaming for joy for it. But I have to think about my kids, and it's almost like creating genocide against people's finances. It will kill your money. It will kill your dream. It will kill everything that you stand for. And you will perish if this tax go in place. We got to think about our future. We got to think about what is right. Not right for a few, but right for everybody. And if we don't stand for something. So I'm going to show you. So this is what America is going to look like when this thing goes in place. And we're going to suffer. And we're going to pay the ultimate price. We're going to hurt. And the day's going to get gray. And they're going to get scary. And many people is going to suffer. You must start taking control of your personal finances and understanding and learning the fundamentals of how to understand how money works. It's time you stop trusting those folks and start trusting your own intuitions. For many years, they've dumbed down the American people. For many years, they have dumbed down our kids. For many years, they have not given us the transparency when it comes down to understanding how this thing works. If we don't take action today, we will fail tomorrow. Our kids will suffer. Our kids will suffer. Our family may suffer. The American people, the 85%ers, will suffer. Middle class and lower class will become in one class, and there will be a poor class. Because if we don't take action today, we will suffer. And as great American people, we should take pride in looking for the majority and not think about just the minorities. We should look at the majority of Americans that need to understand the fundamentals, that if we don't learn and if we don't apply what we learn and keep teaching this to our kids and ourselves and our family and our friends, and wake up the American people, the strong, proud, and beautiful country that we live in, we will suffer as a people. Why do you think that many rich, wealthy people are speaking out against this tax cut when they should be jumping for joy? Because they know that the American people, not ourselves, not us, that will benefit from it. But we got to think about the ones to make it equal for Americans. The only person that walks away happy from this, it will only be the wealthy, the business owners, and everybody else who's an employee will suffer. We must learn the three ways of how our money gets taxed. You got taxable, you got tax deferred, and you get tax advantages. What I want you to do is look into what is the tax advantages. I'll give you a clue. I break them down. Where you get taxed now, it's called taxable. Like I mentioned, in your checking, your savings account, CDs, stocks, and mutual funds. Where they tax you later, which is also called tax deferred, which is in your 401k, your 403bs, your IRAs, SEP IRAs, annuities, and pensions. Where they're going to give you tax advantages, Roth IRAs, 529 college savings plans, municipal bonds, 401k savings account, life insurance, and long-term care benefits. These are the only places you get tax advantages. What are tax advantages for those that have never been familiar with it? Tax advantages mean that you generally won't pay tax when you withdraw the money from these accounts. Tax advantage investment money is after tax money because you have already paid tax on it. Roth IRA, 529 college savings plan, life insurance are popular investment vehicles that get tax-exempt distribution. What are some of these tax advantages that you get when you get even within a life insurance? Well, the first one is that you get tax-free death benefits, right? Tax-free death benefit. You also get tax-deferred earnings. Like I mentioned, you already pay tax on the money, so everything that grows after that is tax-free money. You also get tax-free withdrawals and tax-free loans. Some of these great perks is that no one can garnish it, no one can lawsuit you for it. It's a great way to have emergency fund because unlike your 401k, it comes with a lot of restrictions. Meaning that if you have a 401k or a pension or stuff like that, they're going to give you what's called, you can't touch it before 59 and a half, and if you do, they penalize you 10%. If you fail to take out money before 70 and a half, they penalize you 50% because it's called you fail to do what's called the required minimum distribution. Plus, every income from this will be taxed as ordinary income. That's what America would look like if we don't learn these things. Get in touch with me. There's so much to teach, and it's so simple. Do not fall for the trick. The reason why we fall for many things is because we stand for nothing. We need to bring back the pride of being Americans. The America where everybody is equal. The land of the free and the brave. Be brave to speak out. Be brave to learn more. Be brave to teach others. Be brave. That's what America is about. Brave Americans, brave citizens, a country that stands united and be divided by none. That's what America is about. My name is Keon Corniff, Mr. Finance, and I approve this message. I'm out.